touch on the games being played, because a lot of women kind of default to that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not making excuses for for men, but I just want to know like what that really means to you.
I think that so one of the things I say to men all the time is, if what you want is an open relationship, then that's what you should go seek. What I think people do is they try to pull people into situations that they don't want to be in, or they don't ask them their preference, and then it becomes like, okay, but that's not really what I want to do. So I think that is part of the issue when I say game playing. Okay.
Have you been experiencing that like a lot, or is that something that you experienced in the past?
No. I do think that I have dated people, and I think I'm a very upfront person.
Sure.
Some of my friends say too upfront.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is, people will think that they can convince you to participate in a dating situation that that's not what you want, and you're not comfortable. So I think that people have to listen when people say that's not really what I'm interested in, it's not what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And, but I do think, like, I don't know if it's entitlement. I don't know what it is, but I definitely do feel that there is like some gameplay.
Do you feel, and I want an honest answer, do you feel that men have the ability to be monogamous?
The ability?
Yes.
Yes, I do think they have the ability. I think it's a decision that you make. I think, like, I just recently was listening to DeVal and Kay, their podcast.
I heard a snippet of it the other day. Yeah.
So I think one of the things, though, is so there's several factors that go into that. I think that people have to manage their expectations, but I do think that you have to really get to know the person that you're dealing with. Like,
yes.
And I don't take flirting as being disrespectful. That's just me.
Okay. All right.
There are just certain guys that is how they are. Do I think that they have to learn when too far is too far? Yes.
Yes.
But do I think that every situation where a guy's flirting is like, oh, it's totally, to me, I do think you just have to learn your boundaries. You know what I'm saying? Like, you also have
I agree.
to learn, like, we all, like, this is the funny part. We all know somebody who has an uncle. You just be like, oh, Lord, here comes Uncle so-and-so.
That's just such and such. Yep.
Yeah. So the thing is, and his wife will be like, girl, I ain't worried about him. You know, like, you see older women like that, and they're just like, girl, I ain't like,
because they know it's harmless.
And that is one of the things I think that we try to change people a lot. That is one of the things that I think that as you get older and you're dating, that you should stop doing. I encourage people to stop doing that. If somebody does things that you don't like,
right,
and they're really, but also know what your deal breakers are. Like, be realistic about what your deal breakers are. And if someone is doing things that are a deal breaker for you, then you probably, don't deal with them. Yeah. They're going to make you angry all the time. No one wants to be in a situation where you're arguing constantly. So
right.
Those things.
You got to move on. Okay, like these are all great things. Like, these are all good things. Mm-hmm. Do you think that the landscape is tough for Black women, to find eligible Black men in this day and age?
How do I say it? I think that we are all a totality of all of our life experience. And I was a family court attorney, so let me preface with that. So I think what happens, okay, this is an example of something. At one point in time, it was very like, oh my gosh, she has this crazy career. She's a lawyer, she's a nurse, she's a this, she's a that. There was a time when education wasn't as accessible to everybody. So if you had a certain career, people looked at you like, oh my gosh, like, you got it together. You know what I'm saying?
Pinnacle. Yeah, that's right.
Right. Things have changed. And I think a lot of men were very late to catch on to, I'm not only going to say men, I think people were very late to catch on to the fact that career does not define you.
Mm-hmm.
A career does not mean that you are a good person. And a career doesn't mean a lot of things that at one point in time maybe it did mean back in the day. So what happened is, like I've heard guys say, "Oh man, but she's a nurse. I can't believe she's crazy." And I'm like, what does her being a nurse
have to do with anything?
Being crazy. But I hear people say it all the time.
Yes.
So what happens is, my main point was we're all a totality of our experiences, and I think a lot of men, what they were looking for was they wanted career-driven women or women that, could help bring something to the table. And I think sometimes we overlook, people say all the time we overlook certain
qualities, attributes. Yeah.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Because she's the this or she's a that and this and other. So then what happens is you become jaded.
Yes.
And, if you're dating from even say 16 to 40 as a man, is that 24 years? I'm bad at math.
Yeah.
That's 24 years of dating.
Yeah.
And
yep.
What happens is whether you realize it or not, a lot of people, they start picking up baggage. So
of course.
The landscape is just that we have a lot of people, whether they admit it or not, have been through some things. Like, people have been very difficult to deal with, or you know what I'm saying? And then it becomes, it's harder to be
absolutely
vulnerable.
Absolutely.
So I can't say, I do think the landscape is difficult, but I also think the landscape is difficult because we're all the totality of our experiences, and we've all been out here experiencing people A, we probably shouldn't have been experiencing.
Yep.
And B, I think we probably were doing too much.
I agree.
There were things we probably could have ignored.
I agree.
Things we should not have ignored.
I agree.